Welcome to a game of Two-Headed Giant Commander, featuring Team Josh playing my Omnath, Locus, Amanda deck, and Marlin playing my Numot the Devastator deck, versus Team Rob playing his Rafiq of the mini deck, and Kyle playing Rob's Prime Speaker Zegana deck. Rob and Kyle go first, with Rob keeping an opening hand of Sol Ring, Phantom Nishoba, Gilded Drake, Vesuva, Treetop Village, Flooded Strand, and Tropical Island. Kyle keeps an opening hand of Mystic Genesis, Creeping Renaissance, Phantasmal Image, Vivid Creek, Island, and 2 Forests. Marlin keeps an opening hand of Pongify, Sacred Foundry, Sensei's Divine on top, Cyclonic Rift, Ablation, and 2 Plains. Josh keeps an opening hand of Indric Stomp Howler, Misty Rainforest, Tooth and Nail, De-Glamour, Forest, Worldly Tutor, and Oracle Moldiah. Rob starts by playing Tropical Island and Sol Ring, and Kyle plays Vivid Creek. They pass the turn. Marlin draws Azorius Chancery, and Josh draws Exploration. Josh plays Forest and then casts Exploration, then plays an additional Misty Rainforest for the turn. Marlin plays an untapped Sacred Foundry, dealing the team 2 damage, then taps it to cast Sensei's Divine on top. They pass the turn. Rob and Kyle untap. Rob draws Hollowed Fountain, and Kyle draws Void Slime. While they're thinking, Josh breaks the Rainforest, paying 1 life and putting a forest onto the battlefield. Rob plays Treetop Village, and Kyle plays Forest. They pass the turn. Marlin untaps and draws Is It Boilerworks, while Josh untaps and draws Sword of Feast and Famine. Marlin plays Plains, and Josh de-glamours Rob's Sol Ring, shuffling it into his deck. They pass the turn. Rob untaps and draws Hinder, Kyle draws Explore. Rob plays Flooded Strand while Kyle explores, drawing Rancor and then playing a Forest and an Island. They pass the turn, but at the end of Rob and Kyle's turn, Marlin tops and rearranges his top 2 cards. Marlin untaps and draws Strip Mine. Josh untaps and draws Sol Ring. Josh casts Sol Ring, Marlin plays Strip Mine, then strips Kyle's Vivid Creek, destroying it. Josh casts Sword of Feast and Famine. They pass the turn, but at the end of the turn, Rob breaks his Flooded Strand, paying 1 life and fetching up Temple Garden, putting it onto the battlefield taps. Rob untaps and draws Sublime Archangel. Kyle draws Greater Good. Kyle plays Forest, Rob plays Hallowed Fountain, untaps, dealing his team 2.0 damage. Kyle casts Greater Good. They pass the turn with Marlin looking and rearranging with top at the end of turn. Josh untaps and draws Forest. Marlin draws Plains. Josh plays Forest, Marlin plays Azorius Chancery and bounces Plains. Josh taps 4 and casts Oracle Moldiah, revealing a life from the loam. They pass the turn. Kyle untaps and draws Teleria West, and Rob draws Primal Command. Rob plays Vesuva, copying Hallowed Fountain. Kyle lays down Teleria West. Kyle then casts Phantasmal Image, copying Oracle Moldiah. In response, Josh casts Worldly Tutor, searching out for fellows, Llanowar Emissary, and putting it on top of his library. Kyle reveals Island off the top of his library and plays it. They pass the turn. Josh and Marlin untap. Marlin draws Plains, while Josh draws Fellows. Josh then reveals 2 forests off the top of his library and plays them both. Marlin plays Plains. Josh then equips Oracle Moldiah with Sword of Feast and Famine and attacks Kyle. Kyle and Rob take 4 points of damage, with Kyle discarding Creeping Renaissance and Josh untapping his lands with a sword. And then casts Omnath. He then casts Fellows, but it is hindered by Rob. Josh feeds Omnath 2 green manas and passes the turn. Rob and Kyle untap. Rob draws Sword of Feast and Famine. Kyle draws Phyrexian Metamorph. Kyle then reveals Cyclonic Rift off the top of his library. Rob casts Gilded Drake, targeting the Oracle Moldiah. In response, Marlin pongifies Oracle, killing it and giving Josh a 3/3/8. Rob then sacrifices the Gilded Drake, having not made an exchange. Rob casts Sword of Feast and Famine and then passes the turn. Marlin untaps and draws Arcane Denial. Josh untaps and draws Skyshroud Claim. Marlin plays Is It Boilerworks, Bouncing Plains. Josh pays 2 mana and equips Sword of Feast and Famine to Omnath. He then casts Skyshroud Claim, putting 2 force onto the battlefield. Josh then attacks Kyle with his Ape and with Omnath. Kyle doesn't respond and takes 3 from the Ape and 8 commander damage from Omnath, with Josh floating all the rest of his mana. Kyle discards Phyrexian Metamorph from Sword, and Josh untaps all of his lands. Post-combat, Josh casts Tooth and Nail Entwined. Kyle casts Mystic Genesis, targeting Tooth and Nail, and in response, Marlin casts Arcane Denial, countering Mystic Genesis. With Tooth and Nail resolving, Josh searches up Avenger of Zendikar and Sylvan Primordial. Josh blows up Rob's Sword of Feast and Famine with Sylvan and Kyle's Greater Good. Josh puts 7 0/1 planets onto the battlefield with Avenger, and then puts 2 force into play with the Primordial. Josh then puts 2 +1 counters on all of his plants. Marlin tops and then passes the turn. Rob untaps and draws Jace TMS while Kyle draws Cyclonic Rift. Kyle plays Reliquary Tower as his land. Rob taps 5 mana and casts Primal Command, choosing to put Azorius Chancery on top of Marlin's library and searching his library for Oracle Moldiah and putting it into his hand. Kyle overloads Cyclonic Rift, returning everything to Marlin and Josh's hand. Rob not having any non-land permanents on the field. Kyle and Rob then pass the turn. Marlin untaps and draws his Azorius Chancery, while Josh untaps and draws Life from the Loam. Marlin replays Plains and casts Sensei's Divine Top. Josh taps 1 to recast the Soul Ring, then recasts Exploration. Josh then recasts Sylvan Primordial and blows up one of Kyle's islands and Rob's Tropical Island. Josh searches up 2 force and puts them onto the battlefield from the Sylvan Primordial. They pass the turn. Kyle untaps and draws Summerwald Sage, while Rob draws Swiftfoot Boots. Rob taps 4 to cast Oracle Moldiah. Kyle then casts Summerworld Sage. They pass the turn. Marlin untaps, draws and plays Cascade Bluffs. Josh untaps and draws Genesis Wave. Josh casts Sword of Feast and Famine. Kyle casts Void Slime, targeting the sword. Marlin then casts Remand to put Void Slime back in Kyle's hand and draw a card. With the sword resolving, Josh equips Sword of Feast and Famine to Sylvan Primordial. Josh then casts Omnath and Life from the Loam to return Misty Rainforest to his hand. Josh feeds a mana to Omnath and then attacks Kyle with the Sword of Primordial for 8 damage. Kyle takes 8 and discards Rancor. Josh untaps all of his mini lands. Josh then plays Misty Rainforest. Josh taps all of his mana and sacks Misty, paying 1 life to find a forest, and then tap that also to cast Genesis Wave for 12. Genesis Waves finds the following permanents: Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, Woodfall Primus, Mana Reflection, Greater Good, Terracodon, Strip Mine, and 3 forests. Woodfall Primus blows up Kyle's Reliquary Tower. They pass the turn. Kyle untaps and draws Survival of the Fittest. Rob draws Hallowed Burial and then plays Tundra off the top of his library with Oracle and then casts Hallowed Burial. In response, Marlin looks with his top and Josh sacks Terracodon, 2 Greater Good, drawing him 9 cards and discarding 3. Josh then does this again with Woodfall Primus, persisting it and blowing up one of Kyle's forests. Josh draws 6 cards and discards 3, then sacks Woodfall Primus again. Josh sacks Omnath, drawing 7 cards and discarding 3. Josh then sacks Sylvan Primordial, drawing 8 cards and discarding 3. He then sacks Kozilek, shuffling his graveyard into his library, and then drawing 12 cards and discarding 3. Then, with the only creatures on the field on Kyle's and Rob's side of the board, Hallowed Burial resolves. They pass the turn. Josh untaps and draws Sylvan Scrying. Marlin untaps and draws Time Warp. Josh plays 2 forests and then casts Oracle Moldiah, revealing and playing another forest. Josh casts a Vorinclex, Mana Crypts, Omnath, which Kyle counters with Void Slime, but Josh has enough mana to recast it. He then casts Rafellos, Avenger of Zendikar, putting however many plants into play, and then casts Indrik Stompowler. He then casts Kodama's Reach, Cultivate, 3 visits, putting a crazy amount of counters on his plants. Josh then passes the turn. Kyle and Rob untap and draw, and then looking at lethal on the board next turn from Josh's board, the game ends.
I'm gonna cast Ruination.
Wow.
Dang. Guess we're losing again.
Dude, you're just a douchebag.
I'm sorry, man.
No, you're not.
We're not getting game past 6 turns.
I know. You can't even you can't even let the games last.
What do you want me to do this?
Not play stuff like that. At least that early.
Okay, Tristan, give me a deck.
Yeah.
So much trouble to write down all you guys starting.